Yeah. Okay. Wow. Welcome, ladies. Talk about busy mama's Rosh Hashanah. My brain is a constant flow of scrambled eggs. Was not able to figure out the technical logistics. So thank you all for your patience. And we have finally arrived to this special night. First of all, I want to acknowledge you for being here because I know that it is it can feel so hectic and we're all so busy serving and doing a million things for friends, family, work, just the constant juggle of life. And I just want to acknowledge you for being here, for making the time to plug in. Just feel great about yourself that you did that. It's not easy. So, welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I think everyone here knows me, but I know that people will come on who don't know me. I'm Dossie. I live in Great Neck. I'm a busy mom. And I've been teaching Torah classes for some time. It's definitely one of my passions. I do some coaching and yeah, love Hashem, love the Jewish people, love connecting to women. So this is very special for me. And just to sort of also set the stage of the year that we've all collectively gone through as Am Yisrael, not an easy one for us. Extreme dips with extreme highs as well, I would say. And it's just, I think all of us feel that, it was a hard year on a personal level. Sure that, you can feel your own challenges, your own places where you are being squeezed. And as a nation, just really seeing Am Yisrael go through what we have gone through. And on the flip side of that, the unity that we have seen is just unprecedented. The achdut, the coming together, the supporting one another, the loving one another, standing with Israel. And with all the challenges, we also see that there's light that comes through. So I want to bless us all to have, and all of Am Yisrael to have a light-filled, blessed-filled year. May all of our hostages be returned safely. May all of our soldiers be protected and to come home safely. And all of those that we have so sadly lost, may their souls be elevated, and they should be a light for us to continue with strength and victory. We should have Mashiach immediately. Okay, here we go. So I guess the first thing that I want to mention is really orienting ourselves. And in order to prepare for Rosh Hashanah, we have this month of Elul where we are asked on a spiritual level, we are asked, Ayeka, where are you? Right? The whole point of this month is really to begin the process of really orienting ourselves toward Hashem. We have the whole year to do it, and this is a supercharged month to shift ourselves and really redirect and make sure that we are focusing and facing face to face with Hashem. And only when we are facing Hashem can we actually begin to step into Rosh Hashanah. So if we're not facing and we're not in the right framework and we aren't in this face to face with Hashem, it's challenging to have intimacy. It's challenging to have connection. So I want to start the night by just asking that question to all of us. Ayeka, where are you? This is the question that Hashem asks Adam. Where are you? It's not because Hashem didn't know where Adam was. Hashem knew exactly where Adam was. But really, it was a question for Adam to ask himself. And so I want to ask all of us, where are you? Where's your heart? Where are you being led? Where in your system are you feeling restriction? Are you feeling maybe disconnect? Where are you feeling whole? Where are you feeling tension? Where are you feeling distance? Where are you on your trajectory of growth, of self-compassion, of love, of coming closer, of please God on Rosh Hashanah day, standing face to face with Hashem and crowning Hashem as king. So you can make a mental note, you can write it down, take a second to just ask yourself that question, Ayeka, 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 where am I? Where am I? Where am I? And start to orient yourself. And hopefully through the class, we'll be able to all orient face to face in preparation for Rosh Hashanah. So I want to share a story about a little boy. This story was shared by Rav Daniel Katz. So if you're familiar with him, he's in Eretz Israel. He's a teacher of mine. And one of this is a story that he shares. He says there's a little boy and he's standing at shore. And way, 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 way out in the distance, he sees a massive ship and it is so far away. And he is flailing his arms. He is screaming at the top of his lungs, trying to get the attention of this ship that is miles and miles and miles away. When he looks back, the ship is just a little speck. So an older gentleman sees him and thinks, wow, this kid is absolutely delusional. What is he thinking that he thinks that this ship can see him? This ship doesn't see him. And he walks over to the boy and he says, "Oh boy, this ship is so far away. This ship does not see you." And as he's saying those words, all of a sudden there's a huge siren, a huge blast that is coming from the ship. And the man looks over and he sees, whoa, this massive ship is starting to slowly turn and is actually starting to come toward this little boy. And this little boy turns to this gentleman and says, "You don't understand. This is my father." Now, Rav Daniel says, this is a great story, right? He actually says, it's a horrible story. This is totally, it's a nice story, great, right? Like Hashem, right? We sort of piece it together. What is this story about? It's about a little boy who is us, right? The ship is life. It's the world that's in motion, that's moving. It's got momentum. It's a force that's just kind of going in a direction of its fate. And the captain is God, right? And we are this child. So beautiful, right? The child, us, we reach out to Hashem and Hashem turns towards us. But he actually says that this story is the wrong narrative for Judaism. It is absolutely off brand for Judaism, for our relationship with Hashem, with religion in general. That and he says, why is this story so off brand for the Jewish people? Because this is the story of a God that is far from us, in the distance, super, super, super far away. And God is out of touch with the reality of this little boy of us, doesn't know what this kid is going through, can't even see the little boy, is just completely removed and disconnected. And on top of that, this little boy is exerting himself until he can even get the attention of this captain, of his father. So the amount of work and effort that has to go down in order to get the attention is just insane. And that ultimately it takes so much effort to move this ship. This is so far from the truth of what our relationship and what our prayers are with Hashem. And so many of us, religious, spiritual, God-conscious Jews, this is how we don't even realize that this is the thought that we have, that this is the backdrop of what we have. We can call out and we have to do all these fancy things and we have to be perfect and we have to show up a certain way. And the truth is that cannot be further from the truth. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what is actually true, because it's really the opposite that's true. So God is actually infinitely close to us. There is no distance between us and Hashem. We are submerged in the oneness of God. So the way that I like to look at it is like your hand when it's hurting, it's not waving in front of the face to get your attention. There's a oneness already that you feel. And so our relationship with Hashem is one that God knows, God is enlivening, God is creating at every single moment. And so God is infinitely close and infinitely one with us. God creates our reality So how can the creator be out of touch, right? So if Hashem is constantly recreating the world, then we have to understand that if God is creating, then God is one with. There's no separation there. There is no distance. And the idea that it's hard for God to shift reality. It's not hard for God to shift. It's not the captain, has to do all these maneuvers to redirect the ship. There is no maneuver that God has to do. God is creating. And so in the blink of an eye, a shift can happen. And it's really about what is the will of Hashem? And are we plugged into the divine will of Hashem? The more we can align ourselves with the will of Hashem, then we can see ourselves transcending our realities. So we don't, and last thing that is so important is that we don't need to do anything fancy for God's attention, right? We don't have to know Aleph to Taf. We don't have to be the most scholarly. We don't have to learn every day. We don't even have to do mitzvahs every day. The truth is, we don't need to do anything. You can be distanced, quote unquote, not in touch. And yet, that from that place, you can have God's attention fully and completely. And the question really is, do we have God's attention? Right? Is our attention on God? Where are we orienting? Where is our attention? So it's really about us shifting our attention and our focus toward God, because God's attention is already intimate with ours. Um, Also, just if you have comments, you can leave them in the chat. In the end, we'll have we'll get to chat and discuss. So you can just keep it in your mind. All right, so we're talking here about being written in the book of life. And if we want to be written in the book of life, then we have to be willing to accept a completely new narrative. We have a new story. So if that thought of God's distance is permeating your mind in any way, shape, or form between now and Rosh Hashanah, get yourself to start thinking about right here, right now, as I am, in the experiences that I'm finding myself, in the relationships that I am finding myself, in the darkness that I am experiencing, in the turmoil, in the questions, in the direction, right? In the future, in the past, in the present moment, I am close to Hashem. In fact, I want to go as far as saying that even in the moments where we are so distant, where we are in such question of Hashem, and we turn and we're disoriented from Hashem and we're not oriented from Hashem, in that place, we are still one with Hashem. There is no place that is distant. It is just about our consciousness and bringing that awareness. It's like sometimes we forget, and when we're in the thick of it and we're in the storm of life, we don't remember. And it's just when we can drop into that and practice that, it becomes a groove in our thought process. And the more we come to it, the more we come to it, the more that groove becomes deeper and deeper and deeper and really forms a pathway for us to easily access our true connection to Hashem. So with that said, I want to explore a little bit, what is the portal to a new narrative? What is the portal to this consciousness? You can think about it for a second. I'm sure you guys know already, but I want to bring our attention to Teshuvah. Teshuvah is one of the major themes of Judaism, not just in the month of Elul, not just Rosh Hashanah, but it is a constant state of the mind. It is a constant state of consciousness. And the way that we enter Teshuvah is through an expanded consciousness called Mochin Digadlut, an expanded consciousness. It is being able to sort of look at our world from an aerial perspective and take ourselves out of the story that we have written for ourselves. Tshuva literally means to return. So what are we returning to? We are returning to the essence and core of who we are, which means that we have to create distance from the story that we have, from the heartbreak, from the challenge, from the traumas, from the abandonment, from the neglect, from the disappointment, from the expectations that we didn't meet, right? So behind all of that, behind the identity, behind the persona is the spark, is the tintalayid, is the yechida shebenefesh, is the Jewish spark, is the essence of the soul, the part of us that is one with Hashem, that is never changing, that is not, I can never say this word, but it's not extinguishable, and it is a constant. And the question, and so during this time of Rosh Hashanah, before Rosh Hashanah, preceding Rosh Hashanah, is what we're making distance with, what we're creating space with, is the story that we have become enveloped in the stories that we are cycling in. And once we can shatter that and break that, and that becomes our mochin de gadlut, our expanded consciousness. And in that place, we can recognize that right here, right now, in this moment, without doing anything at all, I have a connection that is constant. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to say anything. I simply have to accept this truth. So between now and Rosh Hashanah, I want to invite you to start coming to this thought of teshuvah, returning to yourself, returning to the you before all the stuff, before who you met, what you did, what you've been through. Before all of that, the soul came into the world. And before the soul came into the world, it was totally aware, totally one with God. Then it came in. What happened? All the stories happened, all of the identity, but we are a neshama that is one with Hashem. I want to bring one other thought to this idea of teshuvah. Teshuvah is Kabbalistically broken down into two words, tashuv, hey, to return the hey. What does that mean, the hey? We're talking about the hey in the name of Hashem. Hashem's name is Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. We have two Heys. The final Hey is connected to this world. The final Hey is the radical spark that gets lost in the world. And guess who puts those sparks there? We do. We experience something. It's a trauma, it's an issue, it's a heartbreak, it's a whatever. And a part of us gets stuck there. That's the Hey. We take Hashem and we put him into exile. It's not just Hashem, it's us, right? And the whole point of tshuva is, can I return that final hey that from Hashem's name? Can I return it to its source? Can I return the part of me that I abandoned and return it to myself? Can I reclaim the truth of who I am, that radical spark that's out there? Can I start to call it in? Can I start to invite it in? Okay, so just to hone in a little bit on this idea of tshuva. Teshuva grants us immediate access to Hashem. It's not at a specific time on Rosh Hashanah. It's not just when the shofar blasts. Yes, it's those moments where there's a new vibration that's being brought into the world that is completely new, that allows for renewal. It's a never before light that is coming in, but tshuva is a constant. And so particularly in this time, we are tapping into to our tashuv hey, to returning all of our parts, so that we can stand on Rosh Hashanah and crown Hashem as king. We're going to get there. So teshuva is a U-turn back to ourselves. So it's the U-turn, returning. So our stories, our personas, our identities, even the awards, even the highs that give us so much. Guess what? Even that's not the essence of who you are. It's just a part. It's just a story. It's just a moment. But the truth of who you are is a spark of Hashem. And that's what we're returning to. And there's no, and okay, we're gonna get, okay, so it's actually right here. So this idea just rocks me. The delusion of this world makes us think that we are far, okay? Time creates this delusion. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, we're here. And what happens, there's a distance, there's a time. And in that time, we could forget, we could be disillusioned, and we could think that our identity is autonomous. We could think, oh, look at who I am. Look at what I've created. Look at what I've built. Look at what I've done. Look at my accomplishments. Look at my challenges. Look at my darkness. This is a delusion, and Hashem did it very, very, very purposefully. It is because we are meant to experience those human experiences. We are meant to feel those feelings. We are meant to leave the hay there, so to speak, because there's an opportunity to reveal light in those places. There's an opportunity to see Hashem there in the darkness, in the light. It's all the same. And in those places, we have the opportunity to reveal Hashem. That radical hay is meant to be there because tshuva gives us the opportunity to draw in all of the exiles and return to a whole state. But the teshuva is necessary. The actual process of tshuva means that I went to this place, I experienced this place of darkness, I experienced this crazy situation in my life, I experienced the messiness, and there I have the opportunity to feel Hashem and recognize that it's not just that story. That story is an aspect, it's a part of this full picture. And that there I have the opportunity to reveal Hashem by acknowledging within myself that I'm with Hashem there. Okay. So between now and Rosh Hashanah, I want you to start to ask yourself, what parts of me have I lost? And how can I begin to call them back home? Start to reflect between now and Wednesday night, 1 week. What did I go through this year? What did I experience? What was high? What was low? What made me feel the whole gamut of feelings that the human experience is meant to make us feel? Can I see Hashem there? Can I call in that part of myself that got stuck in that story? And return and create a wholeness between me and Hashem. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself. You can take a screenshot. What parts of me are stuck in the past? What parts of me are leading that should be in the back seat? Okay, so this is in the language of IFS. I'm an IFS informed coach, but what this means is that we are not a mono mind. We have many parts of us that are constantly at play. And sometimes parts of us take the lead, but those parts are not the higher self. The higher self is the Yechida Shebenefesh, the highest part of the soul. The third eye, what if you want to call it that, is the Pintalia, the Jewish spark. It's the self. It's called self energy. And oftentimes parts of us are leading. And so we want to ask ourselves, what part of myself is leading my story? Is it my higher self that is curious, compassionate, clear, confident? There are more C words, but they're escaping me. Connected, right? There's 7 C words that IFS uses to ask yourself, what am I in my higher consciousness or am I in a part? Can I unblend from that part and start to step into my highest essence? And that highest part of us has no agenda. It is agenda free. It has no, that it needs this to happen or needs that to happen. It is free of agenda. And that free of agenda is mochin de gadlut. It is oneness. It has tremendous space for all the parts that live inside of us. There's room for all of it. They all have space to exist. And the question is, can I expand my kelim? Can I expand the vessels to nurture all of these parts so that they can all feel heard, so that they can all come home from being exiled? What parts of me need attention that have been exiled? There are parts of us from this past year, from our history, from our ancestry that is stuck. And we exile it, we shun it away, we push it away, we don't want to look at it. Guess what? Those parts are begging us, return. I want to return home. Take me out of this exile. I want to return home. Please create a home for me. I want there to be space for me inside of you. What parts of me are at constant war, right? Where are we feeling that anger, that agitation, that bitterness? Start to negotiate with that part. Start to get to know that part. Start to welcome that part. Start to not judge that part. Allow that part of you to take up space in a way where where your higher self can start to nurture like a loving mother, like a loving father, like a sage. What would that higher sense of self start to communicate to that part? Maybe validating that part to start. Maybe just acknowledging it. Maybe just being with it. There's so much inner work that goes into tshuva of returning all of ourselves, all of the fragmented, broken parts of us. It is a lifelong journey. What parts of me are busy protecting something? Right? So sometimes there's a part of us that we're not ready to show. We're not ready to acknowledge. We're worried for that part. We want to protect it. There's a part of us that's protecting it. What parts of me are busy managing to keep it all together, right? I think that most Jewish women have this, the perfectionism, the doing it right, the doing it all, the work, career, marriage, the best mom, PTA, room, religious, and whatever. It's just whatever your world is, but doing it with this manager. And sometimes we need to say, hey, manager, love you, got me really far in my life. I'm ready for you to take a back seat. I'm ready for you to step aside for a moment here because there's some other stuff I need to look at. I'm okay. I'm here now. My higher self is here. I got this. That higher self is the spark. It's that pintel yid. It's that yechidah shebenefesh. And that this is also a journey of starting to get in touch and starting to dialogue with that nefesh elokit, that godly soul inside, that essence within us that knows that there's a deep inner knowing, there's an inner genius that lives within all of us that is aligned with Hashem. And if you feel that you're not in touch with it, it's just a matter of starting to ask to get in touch. Be patient, live in the question, create space to be in the uncertainty. Give Hashem an opportunity to lead you. What parts of me are stuck in blame, shame, comparison? These are the three pillars that inhibit movement in life. So if you are returning, if there's any part of you that is blaming, pointing at yourself or outward, that is shaming, that is constantly comparing yourself, that's going to inhibit you from bringing all of your parts home. That's a teshuva inhibitor. So see if you can start to negotiate with those parts of yourself between now and Rosh Hashanah, between now and the full year, the year ahead. This is a work that is, gosh, this is a life's work. Teshuva is a life's work. It's a life's work. It's starting to shift into that consciousness. It's starting to bring that awareness in. It's starting to welcome this kind of inner inner work, inner work that, we don't learn this stuff, maybe you do. It's taken me years to get to this place. I feel like I've learned teshuva, this concept of teshuva for 20 years, 2 decades. And I feel like I'm just starting to get like, oh, right. Okay. This is like about me and like my stuff. And like showing up means that I've kind of done an inner cleaning in my own house. I've done a little feng shui. I've done a little spring cleaning. I have some space. Okay. I've decluttered my system. So can I call these parts back home? So when you hear the shofar blast, you will be ready to crown Hashem as king, right? So Rosh Hashanah day, the way that we show up to Rosh Hashanah day is that we are under the assumption that we've done tshuva, that we have done this returning, that we are continuing on this returning journey home, that we are coming back to ourselves. Once we are oriented and we are operating and we are standing in self, not out here, not out there, not in the past, not in the future, but we're here in this moment. Then when we hear the shofar blast, we can actually show up to what the blast is. The blast is a cry, it's a vibration of the soul. It is piercing the heavens. It is a cry out to the soul. And it is affirming a declaration that I choose you, Hashem. I am choosing you. I am choosing you as the King of Kings. I am choosing you as the master operator. I am choosing your will. I am choosing to humble myself to you. I am choosing to align myself with you. I am choosing to take your lead. And that lead is within me also. So it's not just this, outer thing. It's like that spark lives within me. And so I don't have to look far. I can just go inward and tap in. That inner malchut, that king, we have a malchut within us, and that's what we're awakening. It's awakening something within us to then come into service. We can be a chariot for Hashem's will, but we have to choose to be the chariot. We have to choose to carry that will, to choose to come into alignment and to be of service to Hashem. So crowning Hashem as king is an intimate choice that's recognizing the sovereignty over the world and aligning our will with his will. By crowning him, we're willing to submit to his guidance and trusting the path. And we're willing and ready to follow it, right? This sacred act brings deep freedom. It is not oppression. It's not like I'm not going to be myself. There is space for all of your parts. There is space for you to fully and completely be all of who you are. If you are willing to give permission, Hashem is granted you be you. You do you. Hashem only wants you to do you. Hashem only wants you to show up as yourself. The question is, are you showing up, giving permission to your parts? Are you creating space for your parts? And in that, there is such a freedom. There is a weight that is lifted. There's okay, I don't have to be something else. I don't have to put on a show. I don't have to, whatever. It's just me. This is who I am. Hashem loves me and I accept my parts. And I'm not perfect and I have a lot of work to do. But there's space for all of my parts, and I'm a work in progress. We're not striving for perfection here. We're striving for progress. That's what Hashem is asking for, which means that you can only do that if you're being honest with yourself about where you are. So if you're having a struggle, you're having a challenge, you're having a doubt, know that that's human. That's what Hashem designed you that way. Be there. Allow yourself to feel into that and get that Hashem wants all of you. And when you create space for that, then actually you can start to nurture and feed those parts of you that are needing attention so that you can actually come in so fully, so radiantly. But at least the first step is accepting all of your parts and knowing that Hashem is accepting you fully and completely. Of course, we're still growing. That goes without saying. So through this relationship, we become vessels for divine purpose. We're part of something far greater than ourselves. So you can think of yourself as this vessel, and there's layers of this vessel, and each of your parts is one of these layers. Sometimes there's a crack, a chip. And as we start to get to know all of our parts and nurture these parts, our vessel gets stronger. For what? What is our vessel stronger for? For Hashem. It's stronger to receive the divine light. It's stronger to receive the new light that is coming in, the new narrative that is coming in, because there's buy-in. We want buy-in from all of our parts. We don't want some of our parts, our holier parts, coming in and saying, yeah, let's go, Rosh Hashanah, let's do this, we believe. What about the parts that we leave at the back door? What about the parts that we've exiled? We want those parts to also feel that there's room for them at the table, that there's room for them in shul, that there's room for them wherever we are. No part left behind. No part in exile. It is a dynamic of love and devotion, choosing to place Hashem at the center of our lives for his wisdom, strength, and compassion. So when I talk about devotion, what I'm talking about is that there is a devotion to the process, not a fixation on the outcome. A lot of times, and this is true for me as well, when I started my tshuva process, I had this whole vision choreographed. Oh, this is going to happen. This is perfect. Yeah. Of course, I thought Hashem was in the center, but I always have to check myself and get that. Am I devoted to the process right now? Or am I subtly thinking about the outcome? And of course, we want to have a vision, but we want to be devoted to the process and almost suspended from the outcome. So I want you to, in the next week and beyond, this practice of being in the present moment, of not fixating on the future, not living in the past, but constantly bringing teshuva is in a moment. Teshuva happens in a moment. It's a realization. Once you see it and you get it in the moment, there is no turning back, because it's like, oh, I see something. I can't deny it anymore. That's what teshuva feels like in the system. And so teshuva requires you to be so rooted, anchored, grounded in the present moment of what is right now. Can I be devoted to this connection, to this relationship, to this intimacy now? Can I believe in it? Can I trust in it? Can I lean into it? Can I be patient with it? Okay, I want to share one last story here. There's a famous story that I've really, for 2 decades, I think I read this story every single year. And every year I feel like I have a different angle or a different insight on it. It's a famous Baal Shem Tov story. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, had a disciple, a student, and his name was Reb Zev. And one year, the Baal Shem Tov, the holy Baal Shem Tov, one of the greatest mystics of all time, asked Reb Zev to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah day. And Reb Zev was humbled and didn't take this honor lightly. And he spent the whole Elul studying, immersing himself in the divine intentions of the shofar, studying the sound, studying the vibration, studying the Kabbalah behind what is happening during this unique time where all of Klal Yisrael, all over the world, the shofar is being blasted. It's like this collective cry. And here Zeb felt like, wow, what a responsibility do I have? And came Rosh Hashanah day, and Reb Zev was under his tali, davening, crying, begging Hashem to answer his shofar blow. And before Rosh Hashanah, he had written his notes and his intentions on a piece of paper. And he tucked that piece of paper into his pocket so that he would be ready to look at it as he was blowing the shofar. So anyways, came Rosh Hashanah day. It's time for Reb Zev to blow the shofar, and he cannot find his piece of paper. And he is devastated and flabbergasted and hysterical, but he is in such shock that he goes completely blank when he blows the shofar. When he finishes blowing the shofar, he is devastated. He's finds himself again under his talit, crying, 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 feeling so bad, feeling so guilty that he just went completely blank. And the Baal Shem Tov comes over to him, Reb Zev, this is the best shofar blow we have heard. That's in shock. Like, what does that even mean, the best shofar blast? And the Baal Shem Tov says, there are many chambers in the palace of the king. There are many keys that open these chambers. They're the intentions, the kavanot, the kavanas to open each of these doors. But there is one key that opens all of the chambers, and that is the chamber. That is the key is a broken heart. A broken heart. What does that mean? What does that mean? Do we have to come to Rosh Hashanah hysterically crying and feeling bad and guilty and ashamed and, wow, I'm such garbage? No, that's not the point. The point is that a whole heart that is complete, there's no room for connection there. Connection is recognizing other. So a shattered heart is ready to receive and is ready to connect. It is the most authentic, the most sincere. It is an acknowledgement of the shortcomings that we have. It is the acknowledgement of that I am dust of the world. It is an acknowledgement of who am I, and yet I am everything. I am nothing and I am everything. I am nothing. I'm not fancy. I don't have the deep intentions. I didn't go to all of the shiurim. I didn't do all of the davening this year. I didn't do all of the mitzvahs. I wasn't a mitzvah girl. In fact, I did the opposite. I was horrible. I was angry. I was bitter. I was ashamed. I was vengeful. I was all these things. But I feel broken because I want to connect. I so want to connect. I so want to be one with you. And I know that I wasn't perfect. And that is really what Hashem is asking us for. So our connection with Hashem is really built on honesty, coming with all of our parts, all of our brokenness, and seeing the wholeness there, that it's actually in our brokenness that allows this deep, vulnerable connection. Hashem doesn't want us coming in as this, like, it's like, be honest, be who you are, be humble, be humble. Sincerity, there's a sincerity and a realness. There's progress over perfection. There's being where you truly are, being honest about where you are with Hashem, feeling your yearning. We all have this yearning. If you weren't feeling the yearning, you wouldn't be here tonight. You wouldn't be listening to this. There's a part of us, the Pintele Yid, the little Jewish spark that we said is indistinguishable, that is yearning. That part of us is so pure, so special, and just coming into that Pintele Yid. You don't have to do or say anything, nothing fancy. You don't have any of the kavanot like Reb said. In fact, you're blank. You're just like, it's almost this like, oh gosh, I don't even know where to begin, right? Embracing the messy, embracing all of the stuff that you have going on and all the things that are incomplete, all the things that are uncertain, right? A cracked heart can receive, right? When we're cracked open, it's actually a sign of receptivity. It's a sign, right? When a whole heart is like a walled up heart. It's like perfect. It's already done. It's complete. We never want that. Never want that. We want it to be cracked so that there's gateways of connection. It's in those places that there's ebb and flow, and there's a ratzo, a shuv, a returning, and there's a expanding, contracting, there's movement, there's divinity, there's flow, there is expansion, there's learning, there's growth, there's progress. So that is it for the Rosh Hashanah Busy Mama's Guide. I want to say Shana Tova to all of you. Again, I'm wishing you a blessed, healthy, sweet year. I also want to mention that I'm going to be sending each of you the Rosh Hashanah Companion, the guide that I've put together. You can print it out. It's so beautiful. I mean, that's my humble opinion, but I think it's beautiful. Going through the 9 concepts so that you don't get lost during the day. Just the core concepts: crowning Hashem, shofar blast, teshuvah, forgiveness, intimacy, self-leadership. Really exploring in concise, clear format that's both profound and simplistic, with an image, an illustrated image that can just help anchor in on the day. What am I? Sometimes Rosh Hashanah we get overwhelmed, we get distracted. So I made this to help root and ground. And you're welcome to turn mics on if you have any questions. If not, that's totally fine too. Of course, thank you so much, guys, for coming on. I don't even know who's here, who's not. Just want to acknowledge everybody. Chloe, so special. Janelle, Shira, Maya, Alyssa, thank you so much for being here. So special to do this. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. We had 30 sign up, so I'm sure that not everyone was going to come on, but if anyone wants to volunteer to be my tech person for the next time, that would be amazing. But anyways, I'm sending love to you all, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you. And I'm always here. Please feel free to reach out to me, connect with me, and hopefully we can continue to grow and rise together. Shana Tova, blessings, health, love, joy, peace, unity, and Mashiach now. Love you all. Shana Tova, Shana Tova. Let me end this. Here we go. Okay. I don't even know how to end it. Here we go. Okay. Love you, Alyssa.